Council, thank you very much for convening this evening, and staff and members of the public. Call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Before we begin, we'll do a land acknowledgement. We begin the gathering by acknowledging that the land upon which we meet is the traditional territory of First Nations people who have a long-standing relationship with the land, water, and regions of Southwest Middlesex. We convey our respect to our Indigenous neighbors and thank them for their contributions to our culture, community, our past, and partnerships in the future. Today's meeting may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. Council, I have been advised of one disclosure of pecuniary interest. Councilor McGill, thank you for doing that and putting the paperwork in. Mark, it's not necessary to leave the horseshoe. You can just sit idle if you wish when we come to that event in the agenda. Are there any other disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. Additions to the agenda has been circulated and a lot to unpack tonight. See any errors, corrections, additions? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion that the agenda dated November. Okay, we got that. We do have an addition. David Samuels will be part of the delegation to speak to us, and that's not necessary to go in close for that meeting. Okay, so that'll be an open session. Okay, thank you. With that modification, may I have a motion to approve the agenda? Deputy Mayor Scholdice, Councillor Troy, all in favor? Carried. And thank you, Amanda, for that. Okay. We are now at 4A on the agenda, delegations and presentations. The Shield Siding Road residents concern. The spokesperson for that, if you'd like to come up to that table, and one of our staff will make sure that you're comfortable there and you're wired. I want to thank you very much for coming tonight and talking to us. We want you to feel right at home. We have a policy and procedural outline for delegations that allow them 10 minutes. Now, we'll certainly favor you with the courtesy of a minute or two, but not an exorbitant amount of time after that, okay? And my CAO will give me a nod when that 10 minutes resumes. And if you could start by identifying yourself for the benefit of the secretary, it'd be great.
Good evening, Mayor Mayhew, members of the council. My name is Sarah Minton. I'm here tonight with my husband, Jamie Minton. I would like to speak to you tonight regarding what we've been experiencing over the past few winters with our road being taken over by bird photographers and our current concerns for safety and privacy. The photographers come to take photos of short-eared owls that take up winter residence in the fields surrounding our home. The owls migrate here in early November and stay until April. To give you an idea of our area, we're located on Shield Siding Drive between 80 Highway and Old Airport Road. There's only 2 houses on this section of road. I have our farm indicated here in the yellow, our next door neighbor farm indicated in blue, and then the farm across the road indicated in red is another neighbor whose house is along 80 Highway. The majority of the owls are on the farm across the road, but they're also on our farm and the next door farm. And the photographers park along this section of the road from 80 Highway to the end of our property. I have some photos that I've taken between December of 2022 and the past few days that I would like to share. So the photographers often block the road and park for hours at a time with their cameras pointed at our property, our neighbor's property, and sometimes even at us. There have been many instances of cars trying to pass through this area, having to stop and wait for the photographers to move out of the way. Several times our kids' school bus has had to stop completely or weave through parked cars and people on the road to get past them. I've witnessed photographers pulling out and stopping, pull out in front of and stop suddenly in front of loaded tractors, semis, and other vehicles. Sometimes people will be parked there for up to 8 hours a day. Often we have the same person parked outside our house every day for hours each day. People often get out of their cars to walk up and down the road. They lean on fences to support their cameras. Some of them set up tripods directly on the road. We find trash and piles of empty beer cans all along the roadside in front of our property. It's extremely disruptive to our daily life, privacy, and the safety of the traffic on the road. You can go a little, little bit faster. There's a lot of photos that have been taken over the last couple of years. But when you get to, I think it's February 27th, the next one. So right here, there's a low section in the road that has limited visibility from either direction, and we'll often get photographers parking on the road and getting out and walking up and down in this section, which is a huge safety hazard because there's hardly any shoulder and there's a steep drop off on either side. And then keep going through a bit. So it's just basically daily, we have people parked outside. And this gets us up to this year. And the next one here, oh, never mind, sorry. So this was a Facebook post on an Ontario bird photography page. And I thought it gives a pretty good description of what's going on from the point of view of a bird photographer. So he says, it had been snowing for days, so I headed out on my usual route with very little in the air. I decided to finish my drive by going to a popular spot in southwest Middlesex County. The snow was beautiful as it slowly fell on the fields and gravel roads. As I came over the last little rise to a spot I often sit at for hours, I witnessed, well, it looked like a winter multi-car pileup on the 401. Unfortunately, I do know what that looks like in person. Cars and trucks were parked randomly all over the road, big lenses pointed to the sky and fields, watching several short-eared owls sitting on the fences and performing aerial acrobatics. I sat in my van a long way back and watched the show because I was too far away for pictures. When we started to lose the light, the owl paparazzi disbanded and I slowly rolled forward. As you can imagine, being constantly surrounded by photographers for 5 months every winter has been very stressful for us. It's very disruptive to have to plan our farming activities around photographers so we don't accidentally tick someone off. We have no privacy for those 5 months, and it's gotten to the point our kids won't even go outside to play at all during the winter because there's nearly always somebody with a camera right outside of our house. We've attempted to resolve this issue on our own in several ways. We first started by speaking to individual photographers and asking them to move further away from our house. We explained how uncomfortable they were making us, and that only upset them. Next, on the recommendation of a local bird watcher, we got in touch with the Ontario Field Ornithologists, or the OFO. I spoke with the president of the OFO, and he acknowledged that owl photographers in particular have become a big problem for many landowners in recent years. They are known to be rather aggressive about getting their photos at any cost and for being disrespectful to landowners. At our request, he activated the Bird Ambassador Program. This is a program that the OFO offers that has volunteers come out and try to educate and act as a mediator between landowners and photographers. They created this program because there have been so many cases where bird photographers have clashed with landowners. We had several volunteers come out and try to help on multiple occasions. They asked photographers to give us some space, park only on one side of the road, stay in their cars, and limit their time parked at this location. They also proposed a viewing schedule and asked people to only come on certain days during certain times so that we aren't constantly bombarded with photographers. They were met with rudeness and hostility from all but a few photographers. Unfortunately, they were unable to make any difference and just ticked the photographers off even more. A volunteer also brought to our attention that a photographer who was angry that we were working on cleaning up junk and brush in a field that we were going to be sharecropping this year had taken photos of my husband while he was working and circulated them around their online chats with our GPS coordinates tagged. And there is a photo of that she forwarded us. I think it's the second last slide. Right there. So finally, as a last resort, we asked the OFA for help. Our OFA rep, Karen McLean, along with Crispin Colvin, have helped support us in navigating, bringing this up with the municipality and to brainstorm possible solutions. We feel that we need council's help at this point, as we have tried every means available to us to work with and educate the photographers to try to minimize the impact that they're having on the safety and privacy on shield siding. We think it's very important to find a solution that doesn't impact the owls. or any of the surrounding farmers as much as possible. We think the best solution would be to put no stopping signs along both sides of Shield Siding from 80 to Old Airport. If the signs were to say no stopping from December to April, they would have very little impact on the surrounding farms during planting and harvest season, but would limit the photographer traffic during the winter. The two households that would be most impacted, most affected by these signs would be ourselves and our neighbors, Corey and Shirley Koya. And Corey and Shirley, they've had the same issues as we've had with the photographers, and they are very strongly in favor of this solution as well. And they asked me to share a short letter of their support. And it says, dear Southwest Middlesex, we would like you to know that we live at 3634 Shield Siding Drive at Kilmartin. We are backing Jamie and Sarah Mitten in regards to the bird watchers. Last year, we had people parking by our laneway and sometimes were there for hours, seven days a week. They were taking photos, which would have parts of our property in the photos, and they would block the roads also. Unfortunately, we are unable to attend the meeting to speak in person, but Sarah Minton will represent us as well as herself. If you so choose to post signs, they will need to be posted on both sides of the road. Otherwise, the bird watchers will just park on the opposite side of the road. Thank you for hearing our concerns, Shirley and Corey Koya. We ask the council to please consider the installation of no stopping from December to April signs along this section of Shield Siding. And I would like to thank your worship and the council for hearing our concerns, and I hope that you'll be open to helping us with this issue. And this concludes my comments.
Thank you, Sarah, very much for that. From your presentation, sounds like your message is an invasion of privacy, so to speak, is what it boils down to. There is a process. Your information is very complete. If what you reiterated tonight could be forwarded to staff, if you have that in a digital format, I'm sure our CAO would appreciate that. And very often they can regurgitate that information, go over it, and discuss it among our department heads, specifically Mauro Castelli, who's in charge of roads. He is governed by a higher authority too, the MTO and things like that. So whatever we do has to be in regard to the standards that are set. But I'm sure council may have questions, and I'll open it up to the floor, the horseshoe now, if you have any questions you'd like to ask Sarah. Councillor Choi, please go ahead.
Thank you. Not so much of a question to you, Sarah, but thank you for the presentation. I did meet with Shirley about a year ago, and at that point in time, I had asked for signs to be thought about for the road, and I'm not sure if we were still looking into them or not. Is there an update on that?
I don't know whether a request for a recommendation came back. I'll let Amanda ask that. I can't recall a motion for a staff report to come back, but Amanda, I'll let you handle that.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, Councillor Choi. I am unsure of the previous direction that has been issued on this file. I do know that there has been a meeting with the Mintons and the OFA, but was not familiar with a specific direction from council. I can tell you that staff have looked into a number of enforcement options, including no parking on the road. There are some real limitations with those options and their enforcement as well. On our radar, we do not have a recommendation from council to report back on those options, but if one was passed today, we'd be happy to bring back a report, a listing to council with options and some of their limitations to explore this issue further.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Choi.
I would like to make that recommendation.
Okay, is there a second for that? Thank you, Martin. Moved by Councillor Choi, second by Councillor Vink. Any questions? Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just happened to be on Shield Siding on Monday, and right at the top of the wall, there was two vehicles parked there. One was completely blocking the road on a 45-degree angle with his camera out the window, and I had to come to a full stop and honk to get his attention. So I can see that it is a real problem. And I just wondered if we should have no parking signs instead of no stopping signs, just something maybe for the report.
Yeah. I think a couple of trips out there might be in order. I'd love to. Well, go for a drive in my truck. Uh, We'll look at it and, all right. Anyway, I'll call the question and, this is important, Sarah. Okay, so, we are authorizing, our staff to go to work on this and to see what they come up with. They will bring the recommendation back to council. And we'll have discussions on that, whether we find it acceptable or we can tweak it. So the wheels are in gear. It sometimes moves slow, but we will certainly try to do it as efficiently as we possibly can. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay. So we're gonna go and help you with this. Okay.
Thank you very much,
You're
Worship.
most welcome. And thank you for coming and seeing us. David Samuels is up next. Is David with us or is he on Zoom? Okay, no problem. No, we're good. Yeah, we'll go in. Yeah, David may show up around 6:30, so we'll continue on to make it efficient and we'll just see where we are. Consent agenda. So let's pop down to the consent agenda. We'll come back to David Samuels later. I'm sure you'll be anxious to hear his report. The Council for the Municipality of Southwest Middlesex has the consent agenda items here. 5A, Southwest Middlesex Council minutes, Middlesex County highlights. There are just the two, Council. What's your wish? That the consent agenda be adopted as circulated? Thank you, Councillor Choi. Councillor Myers, all in favor? Passed. And Martin, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yes, under Middlesex County, I was down the back roads today. I understand that they're doing a little logging from red oak and white oak. Do you know anything about that?
You know what? It hasn't been advised, nor has there been a report that I can even think, but it would be in the hands of forestry and but it did not come to council. No, it must be scheduled or something like that. Or I know I can't even remember tenders coming in, and sometimes it takes a significant amount of time to get a logging company in there. They may allow it a year after they accept it, but I'll check into it, Martin, and I'll get back to you personally. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Part of the skunk's misery.
If I could add, apparently they just cut a small section because a few of the red oak and are dying.
Yeah.
And so that's why they were in there.
Okay. See a name on a truck at all? Did you? Oh, yeah. Well, I wondered what logging company it was. Okay, I'll follow it up, Martin, for you, and I'll get back to you personally on that. Okay. Two items on there. Is there a motion that the consent agenda be accepted as presented? Yes. Deputy Mayor Schuldice. Councillor McCollum. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we are now at number 6. I think we will go in this and we will once we complete the committee of adjustment, perhaps David will be here. Council, I need a motion that we move into committee of adjustment at 6:20 p.m. Councillor McGill, Councillor Vink, all in favor? Carried at 6:20. Call the meeting to order, 6:20, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Mark, is this the one that you were in? Okay, so Mark, with respect to that particular severance, you just have to abstain from voting.
4C.
Okay. Take note of that. Moving on, the minutes have been circulated, the October 23rd meeting. Is there a motion that they be received as circulated? Don McCollum, is there a seconder for that? I'll second that. All in favor? Carried. We have Aaron and Alana with us tonight. That's a pretty catchy duo name there, I think. If you would advise council of the purpose and effect of application B 22/2024, ZBA P 12/2024, 5669 Park House Drive. Council would appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So the purpose and effect of application for consent B 22/2024 is to establish a 6-meter wide hydro easement over the subject lands for hydro access and maintenance purposes. And in particular, the easement would be located on the subject property in favor of the abutting property at 5671 Park House Drive. The purpose and effect of zoning bylaw amendment application P 13/2024 is to implement a condition of consent for consent application B 8/2023. And as council may recall, application for consent B 8/2023 was approved by municipal council in 2023. And the purpose is to rezone to prohibit the establishment of dwellings on the remnant parcel of the farm as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance, and also to rezone the retained lands from the general agricultural A1 zone to the rural residential zone to recognize the residential use of the lands. So this hydro easement is being sought to satisfy a condition of consent for B 8/2023. And as a condition of consent, the applicant is required to ensure that hydro lines are wholly contained on the lands to be retained. And considering that the hydro lines aren't wholly contained, the applicant is applying for this easement. And given the configuration of the hydro poles crossing from 5669 Park House Drive and then back to 5671 and then back to 5669, the proposed easement in favor of 5671 would be approximately 73 meters in length and also 11 meters in length. So the subject lands are a farm parcel located on the southeast side of Park House Drive, northeast of Mayfair Road, and on the northwest side of Irish Drive. And the lands contain a single detached dwelling and a small shed. So the severed lands are approximately 20.88 hectares or 51 acres in size, and they have a frontage of approximately 179 meters or 587 feet. And the retained lands contain the single detached dwelling and the shed, and they have an area of approximately 0.36 hectares or 0.89 acres, and a frontage of approximately 55 meters or 180 feet. So the Southwest Middlesex official plan requires a rezoning application for remnant farm parcels associated with surplus farm dwelling severances, and also for the lands associated with the surplus farm dwelling to reflect residential uses. In regards to the proposed hydro easement, staff is of the opinion that the consent application to establish a hydro easement is consistent with the provincial planning statement, and both the County of Middlesex and Southwest Middlesex official plans, as the establishment of easements is permitted within prime agricultural areas, provided that there would be no new lot created. And also rezoning the remnant farm parcel and the residential use are also required as part of the Southwest Middlesex official plan. So based on the foregoing, staff satisfied that the subject applications are consistent with the PPS and in conformity with both the County of Middlesex and Southwest Middlesex official plans. In regards to comments received during circulation, staff received comments from the Manager of Public Works, the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, the Building Services, and the County Engineer, as well as Hydro One, and these comments are included within the report. And no public comments have been received to date. So staff recommend that consent application B 22/2024 be approved subject to the 5 conditions outlined in the report for the reasons noted in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Alana. For apprising council of that, we have a process we'll follow. The applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak if they are present. Yes, how are you there? Okay, I don't believe so. Hmm. Yeah. Alana, in request to the neighboring access, what's the situation there?
So through you, Mayor, so because the fence is a temporary structure, I believe that's acceptable, but no buildings would be permitted on the easement. So that there's continued hydro access and the
Yep.
ability to maintain those lines.
Yeah, I think, if in the event they need to get in there, they can. Yep. And if the fence has to be taken down, it has to be also replaced. Okay? Yeah. Okay, I think we can get over that bump. Yep, I do, but I appreciate your comments. It certainly caught our attention. Thank you very much for that. And thank you to the applicant. We'll move on. Committee members' remarks. Does any member of council have any questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Mayhew, just to follow up on that, there will be no additional cost to the neighboring property owners.
No, I'm.
Through you, Mayor, I don't believe so. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Jeremy's taking care of the cost of the easement. And other than that, nothing will physically change on the property. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep, Jeremy, that sounds correct. Thank you. I see your nod there. President, okay. All right. Any further questions? Have any oral submissions or written submissions been submitted? No, okay. Applicant's final remarks, not necessary, but we're doing well. Committee's decision. The recommendation is before you, council, subject to the 5 conditions that are before you. What's your wish? Deputy Mayor Schultes? Okay, is there a seconder? Don McCollum? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Alana. That's one of 3 we got here. Can you advise council of the purpose and effect of application B23-2024?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So the purpose and effect of this consent application is to establish a 6-meter wide easement over the subject lands for hydro access and maintenance purposes in favor of 5669 Park House Drive. And this is being sought to, oh, sorry, I'll share my location map. Sorry. Sorry about that. So this easement is being sought as a condition of consent for application B8-2024. So it would be in favor of the property at 5669 Park House Drive as a result of the consent B8-2023. So the proposed hydro easement would be approximately 30 meters and also 26 meters in length. And the subject lands are a farm parcel located it abuts the property that we just heard about, located on the southeast side of Parkhouse Drive and northeast of Mayfair Drive on the northwest side of Irish Drive. So the Southwest Middlesex Official Plan and County of Middlesex Official Plan permit easements, provided that a new lot is not being created in an agricultural area. So staff is of the opinion that the consent application to create an easement in favor of 5669 Parkhouse Drive is consistent with the provincial planning statement and also in conformity with the County of Middlesex and Southwest Middlesex official plans. In regards to comments were received from the Manager of Public Works, the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, the Southwest Middlesex Building Services, the County Engineer, and Hydro One, and these conditions are included within these comments are included within the report, and no public comments have been received to date. So staff recommend that application for consent B23-2024 be approved for the 5 conditions noted in the report for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you again. Again, we have a process we're mandated to follow. Would the applicant like to speak to this application? Seeing none. Committee members' remarks, do you have any? No hands. I'll interpret that as we're good. There's been no oral or written submissions I've been advised of. Applicants' remarks are being waived. Committee decision on the recommendation. Councillor Myers, you approve the recommendation. Thank you. Second for that. Councillor Hagan. Last call for questions. All in favor? Carried. Thank you again, Alana. We are now at 4C. Councillor McGill, thank you for notifying council of your conflict there. The purpose and effect of B21 2024. Walk us through that, Alana.
I'm actually going to give the report this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
So I just want to note right off the bat, I want to note an error that I had. The applicant's name is actually Peter Toma. I have it reversed on my application, so just an apology there. So the purpose and effect of this application is to sever a parcel of land to facilitate the disposal of a surplus farm dwelling severance as a result of farm consolidation. The lands as a whole are approximately 40.23 hectares in size. They contain a single detached dwelling with private well and sanitary service, a barn, and a silo. The aerial photo, I do want to say, the aerial photo that is attached to my report is from 2020, so it's a little out of date. It does show the remnants of like a previous house that was there. It is no longer at that location. It's just the barn, silo, and the existing house that are there currently. So the applicant is proposing to sever a surplus farm dwelling lot that is approximately 0.58 acres in size. The lot area of the remnant farm parcel would be 99.42 acres. The lands proposed to be retained would contain the farmland, the barn, and the silo, and would be used for agricultural purposes. It appears to already have an existing access off of Falconbridge Drive, but this would need to be confirmed as a condition of approval. The lands to be severed would contain the single detached dwelling and the private sanitary services. The applicant has advised that the well is actually located further south on the lands to be retained. And their intent is to decommission that well and to install a new well on the residential lot for the purposes of serving the house. So that has been reflected in the conditions this evening. The surrounding land uses are predominantly agricultural and rural residential in nature. So the application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. Comments received included the chief building official, who provided 3 recommendations. Number 1, that the septic be confirmed to be within the limits of the residential property, that the septic system itself be reviewed by a third party to confirm that it is in functioning order, as well as that the barn receive a change of use permit to restrict livestock. Southwest Middlesex Public Works Department advised that a separate laneway to the retained lands would be required. Again, if there is one that is already in existence, that will be an easy to satisfy condition of approval. The drainage superintendent advised that the property appears to be a part of the watershed of the Eddy Drain and Government Drain number 4. So drainage reapportionment will be required as a condition as well. SCRCA, the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, Hydro One, all advised of no concerns with the application. So my analysis, I am satisfied that farm consolidation has occurred in that the owner has multiple farm properties and is part of a larger farming operation. The house is of the appropriate age that is required within the county and the local official plans. The applicant has indicated again that the dwelling is in good condition and that it's currently occupied. The septic system is wholly contained. And then with the addition of a new well as a condition of approval, the servicing, local servicing or private servicing rather, will be achievable. Additional analysis that was done was in accordance with the Southwest Middlesex official plan. So in regards to the requirement for rezoning, that has been added as a condition, which is always standard for these types of applications, whereas the farmland would not be permitted to have a residential use in the future. I did want to note that the barn that is going to be kept on the farmland does appear to be, in proximity to the new residential lot that is being created. If there is a livestock barn on a property, it does not need to meet the MDS to the house, obviously. But as soon as we create a new property line, MDS does take an effect. So it is my understanding there is no livestock at this location, but to ensure that there is no livestock at this location in the future, the chief building official has required a change of use permit. And that would just state that no livestock is permitted and that it would just be for storage purposes in the future. The lot is of a size that is appropriate, maintaining the house and private services. So my recommendation this evening is approval, and that is subject to the 11 conditions outlined in my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, very much. Again, our process will follow as the applicant wish to speak this application.
Yeah, I think everything that was brought into the house. All of them are a lot of lifestyle. I'm often, but I don't know who bad and go with you all what that is. Now we have to go back to the region over. Because the electrical campus and the water, they're going to the family for going to the state. Right out of the family, like to keep the house to themselves, with all of the deal we made, then involve the farmer in the original, every opportunity to have the dog, or some of that.
Okay, sounds good, Peter. Thank you. Yep. Okay, committee member remarks. Any questions you'd like to ask Aaron? Seeing none, there have been, who's got it? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you,
Deputy Mayor,
Mayor.
sorry, I missed you
Just
there.
so I'm clear on this, Aaron, there was 2 houses on it and one was tore down. I'm just looking at the map here and the number seems to be covering up, must be where the other house is.
The other house was right to the east of it, right beside of the road.
Yep.
There's an old house and east of the road.
So the one house is gone and the other one's right. Okay, good. Okay, thanks.
Okay, any further questions? Yes, Councillor Vink.
Mayor Allen, wasn't quite clear what was said about the well. Does the well not have to be in before the summers is approved?
I'll let the planner answer that or Amanda. Yep, go ahead, Aaron.
Through the mayor to Councillor Vink. It is a condition of approval. So I believe once he is granted conditional approval, he is required to meet those conditions. I believe his comment was more about getting approval initially before just removing the well. But it will certainly be required before the consent certificate is issued and it's finalized.
Sounds good. Yep, Councillor Myers.
I'd like to remove it, or I would like to move this, please.
Okay, thank you. Second for that. Councillor Vink. All in favor? Carrie, good, Peter, we got something looked after there. You're welcome. Planning, again. Minor variance application A5 2024 3280 Buttonwood Drive. Planning, can you walk us through this one? Go ahead. You're back up again, are you?
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew.
Good, Aaron. Go ahead.
So the purpose of this application is to permit the construction of a drive shed, which is approximately 166 square meters in size, with a setback from a center line of a local road being Buttonwood Drive of 15.19 meters, whereas the required setback is 28 meters in the general agricultural zone. The subject lands are located on the north side of Buttonwood Drive. They also abut Dundonald Road, as well as, I can't read it's a old airport road. Thank you very much. But the location of the single detached dwelling in the area of the proposed shed is actually on Buttonwood Drive itself. The property in total is 26.3 hectares. It has a single detached dwelling, a barn, a small shed, and livestock structures. The applicants have advised that the topography of the property is such that the lands are quite rolling. Very few high areas exist that would also be flat enough to accommodate an accessory building. So to reduce the risk of flooding, the proposed location is both on the highest possible ground and the flattest point available. The applicants have also advised that the use of the building would be for farm implement and personal vehicle storage and be accessed via the existing driveway, so no additional driveway would be required. The application was circulated as per the requirements of the Planning Act. Southwest Middlesex Chief Building Official provided no comments. Similarly with the Manager of Public Works, no objections, and the County Engineer, because it does abut the county road, no concerns from them as well. St. Clair Region Conservation Authority provided comment because the majority of the property is actually regulated. However, they stated that although the location is within the regulated area, they do not have any concerns as they have directed it sort of towards the least flood risk possible point. As well, they did want to add that a permit would not be required from the Conservation Authority. Typically, when constructing in the regulated area, you also need a permit, but they wanted to advise that one would not be required in this case. So my analysis of the application, the 4 tests of minor variance, I did take into consideration, of course, the topography of the property. They are really doing their best to locate this in an area directed away from the hazards, flood risk, and the hazard lands that are identified on the property as well. In terms of setback to the center line of the road, 15 meters is from the property line, which is also several meters away from the actual paved right of way as well. This is, quite a significant setback. So in terms of vehicular safety, and that sort of thing, it is adequately separated from the traveling public. I would also add again that the Manager of Public Works reviewed it and did not have a concern with that location. So my recommendation this evening is approval. Thank you.
Thank you again, Aaron. If the applicant is present, he's welcome to speak to this. Seeing no hands, we'll move on. committee members, questions, remarks to, Aaron? Seeing none, I have not been advised of any oral or written, submissions. Applicant's final remarks will waive. Committee decision, recommendations before you, council. What's your wish? Councillor Choi is moving it. Councillor Myers seconding it. Okay, thank you. I think you were scratching your nose there, Ed, but I saw your hand go up. All in favor? Carried. Okay, future meetings, will be advised. Motion to adjourn. So moved by Councillor Choi, seconder, Councillor Myers, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Aaron, Alana, for that. We will be resuming our regular council meeting. May I have a motion to resume Southwest Middlesex Council and deal with the public meeting section of the agenda. Councillor McGill, Councillor Myers, all in favor? Carried. We have first one, 7A, zoning application. Amendment application, P 13/2024. Planning, can you walk council through this, please?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So as we heard earlier this evening, the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment is to implement a condition of consent. And that's to rezone the farmland from general agricultural A1 to agricultural A2. And then also to rezone the residential portion of the lands or the retained lands from A1 to rural residential. So staff provided a bit of an overview earlier, so I won't get into that. But overall, staff is of the opinion that the proposed application is consistent with the PPS, the County of Middlesex Official Plan, and the Thames Center or Southwest Middlesex Official Plan. And therefore, staff recommend that the zoning bylaw amendment be approved for the reasons outlined in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If the applicant is present, he is allowed to speak. Yeah, yes, go ahead, sir. Okay, thanks again. Council, any questions, remarks you wish to provide? Seeing none. Have not been advised of any submissions, oral or written. Applicant's final remarks not required. Council's decision. The recommendation be accepted. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Myers, seconded by Councillor McGill. All in favor? Carried. 7A is complete. Thank you again, planning. We are moving on to number 8 in the agenda. Oh, we gotta have David Samuels. Yeah, we do. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, David, you're with us now, is he? Yeah, David, welcome to Southwest Middlesex Council.
Great, thanks for having me.
Well, turn on, I think you're on mute there. David?
Can you hear me now?
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Yeah,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
There's no vocal, no audio. Oh, he's.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah, David, I can text him. Yeah. David Samuel.
You can't hear me, confirming nothing.
Can you ask him to try again?
Testing. Can anyone hear me? Hello. Hello, testing.
Yeah, baby. He's usually pretty good at this sort of thing. Okay, yep. He's aware of it, eh? Okay, that's good. That's the main thing. We'll get her.
Hello, testing, testing. Nothing, still nothing.
Let's try it.
Hello, testing, testing. Oh,
Okay.
I don't know how to troubleshoot this. Nope, I don't either.
hello, testing, testing.
If he wants to phone me, he can, I can, just put my phone on speakerphone if you want, so.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, can you
How are
guys hear
you?
me?
Hi, David, can you, give us audio through your phone?
Yeah, absolutely. I can leave my camera on here if you'd like.
Yep.
Yep. You rather you make a way to set the conference in, but
Oh,
hopefully.
There's more, always, more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know whether just, my attribute towards cats maybe put me before the integrity commissioner, but, it's an old saying.
Is there an echo if I talk? Or you can all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay, perfect. I'm hearing that though, but I can always do that.
I think it's gonna be challenging. Is there a better way to do it? Okay, now we can put on my mic and thank you very much, public. If you're listening, we had some audio problems with the municipality's legal representative on a subdivision, but all went well and we appreciate the development in an orderly fashion. And we apologize for that technical difficulty. Okay. We are now, we through that, staff reports. Now, asset management update. I think you're on now, Amanda.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew, through you. The report before you does provide a summary of and a recommendation related to the municipality's asset management plan. As you all know, there are requirements the municipality is required to meet both on July 1st, 2024 and July 2025 related to asset management. Southwest Middlesex unfortunately did miss the 2024 deadline for compliance due to staffing changes and competing priorities. A review of our existing plan has confirmed that the raw data does exist in our system, but the comprehensive asset management planning and levels of service reviews have not yet been completed. We have had some concern raised from the Ministry of Infrastructure about this non-compliance issue. As such, compliance is critical for maintaining access to essential municipal grants, emphasizing the urgency of completing the required plans. The report does recommend engaging external auditors with a maximum estimated cost of $50,000 to address compliance gaps and meet the 2025 deadline. We have tested that number with the market. We do believe that would be the absolute maximum to meet compliance requirements, and that it is important to show the Ministry of Infrastructure that we are taking steps to meet the requirements by the next deadline. Further, the municipality has requested a compliance extension from the Ministry of Infrastructure. We have not heard back. And we also plan to delegate at the upcoming Rural Ontario Municipal Association conference to discuss the situation with the ministry and hopefully seek some support. So that's the background on the report before you, and it's provided for your awareness and hopefully support to address our compliance challenge.
Thank you, Amanda. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but it is what it is. And I know that all of council realize that our success in obtaining grants is very much conditional upon our asset management plan and be in order. So, council, there's a recommendation before you. Are there any questions you would like to ask Amanda through the chair? Go ahead, Councillor Vink.
Since we've got a little bit of time anyway, asset management, I was wondering if Amanda can go through who's responsible for what. And so in other words, we have a treasurer, we have a assistant treasurer, we have you, we have managers. Who's all involved in asset management?
Sure, through you, Mayor. That's a great question. The structure of asset management in different municipalities does change from municipality to municipality. Some municipalities have dedicated asset managers, and their sole function is to serve and update asset management planning and mapping. Some municipalities, even smaller than us, have GIS technicians who link asset management with mapping processes. While I'm not familiar with the intricacies of the past when it came to asset management in Southwest Middlesex, it is my experience that it is a shared responsibility, typically shared by the CAO, the treasurer, and the manager of public works, and also a manager of parks and recreation. So it's a team effort. Typically, it requires cross-departmental expertise in order to address and in order to determine the levels of service needed in each department. But it is typically led by the finance department.
Deputy Mayor Schultz.
Just wondering why our own staff can't do this.
Great question. So that is first what I explored to share with council. So I first explored what data do we have, what expertise do we have in-house, and what resources do we have to focus on this as an immediate priority. As you know, we've had a lot of change in our organization over the last year. And some of the knowledge about the data that we do have and the way our asset management plan that has been completed in the past no longer is on our, available to us as a staff member. Also, as you know, we've been able to attract a new treasurer who has competing priorities, primarily on the budget preparation process. So from my perspective, also, we have the Ministry of Infrastructure who has contacted the municipality and requested a plan urgently. So I think those, resource limitations, expertise limitations, and then also the critical timeline is why it's recommended that external resources be obtained to assist with this. Of course, staff will still be heavily involved in supporting the external resource that would be obtained. We would have to furnish them with all of the data. We'd have to answer all of their questions and provide them guidance. So it still will involve resources. It just the leadership and the knowledge of how to execute this would be led by someone who has had experience doing so already.
Yep, by all means.
And I just wondered where the money's coming from in our budget.
Also a great question through you. We do not have an allocation in the 2024 budget. So it is recommended that the allocation be pre-approved for the 2025 budget process based on our estimates of timelines. So we will need to obtain through quotations as per our process and the anticipated potential expense, although of course we hope it's lower. We will obtain those, and we don't anticipate incurring the first expense before the beginning of 2025.
Pre-approval.
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Yes, Martin, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. One more question. Every year, I believe we get an auditor's report. And if I recall correctly, they talk about asset management. So I'm a little lost as to why we're behind because we have auditor's reports. It's saying, and I haven't heard that we were ever behind.
Thank you for the question through you, Mayor. I can certainly understand that would be a concern. So municipal auditors do review, the overall financial health of the organization, as well as our policies and procedures related to financial activities. They also do comment on depreciation values related to asset management and also life cycle planning. However, auditors do not audit whether the municipality meets the regulation for asset management. And the province of Ontario has a separate regulation which deals with asset management and requirements. And it's been in place since 2017, which does provide phased in dates for certain compliance timelines that municipalities need to meet. But it's not a scope of work that's included in the audit statement. So the province has passed a regulation that requires municipalities to meet certain criteria at certain phases. The first one was in, I want to say 2019 or 2020. And then they have a phased in requirement for 2022, 2024, and 2025. And it's all staged. One of the primary questions that they ask on grant applications is your asset management plan up to date? But to your question, sorry, getting off track. Auditors do look at our overall assets and their value, but they don't necessarily consider them from an overall asset management life cycle perspective.
Okay, any further questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Great question. If we could add, so the existing recommendation, and add and that, the expense be charged to the, or deferred to the 2025 budget for future, for funding or similar to that nature. I'm sure our clerk can work that out. We'd be happy to include that amendment. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second for that? Councillor Haggett. Thank you, council. It's not good news, but you're between a rock and a hard place. We have to move on. And thank you for that. Any questions? The motion is as recorded, plus the notation that the funds will be budgeted in the 2025 fiscal year. Councillor McGill, question.
Through the mayor to Amanda. So how does this affect grants that we applied for just recently? I know we applied for some this fall.
Thank you through you, Mayor, Councillor McGill. I'm not entirely sure. I will be honest. So we have, as I said, we've reached out to the Ministry of Infrastructure to request an extension. I think I will follow up with them if this recommendation is approved to advise, provide an update and advise that we are committed to moving forward with compliance. And my hope is that we are granted an extension and our grant applications would still be eligible and able to be considered. And certainly that's what we will advocate for. But we do need to make those connections before I can provide an answer to you specifically about the grants we just submitted.
Follow up, Councillor McGill.
Even if we do get an extension, I'm afraid, with grants, there's only so much money available. Once the money is all allocated, it's gone.
You bet.
So we could get an extension, which would be nice, but possibly meaningless because by the time our extension's granted, the money's already been allocated to other municipalities. Unfortunately.
It has to be done though, regardless of that, it has to be done. And I had a good discussion with our CAO today, and we will certainly in our delegations at Roma, try to get a sympathetic ear. Staff changes are no doubt what precipitated this, and we're trying to make the correction as best as we can. Motion is on the floor. It has been seconded. Last call for questions. All in favor to accept the recommendation as amended? Opposed? Carried. We need those grants, and that's the only way we're going to get them. Thank you, Amanda. Has there been, I have not been advised of any notice of motions. Is there one? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I missed you that. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Water financial plan and drinking water update.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. This report is also just provided at this time for information. The municipality's drinking water license expires in January of 2025. And as part of the renewal process, the municipality is required to provide an updated 6-year financial plan. And we have been working on creating the plan in time for the deadline. We've received some assistance from a consulting company, Watson and Associates, which I believe was previously approved. And we are on track to meet the deadline in order to get the plan done to renew our license in January, which is great. We want to continue to provide that safe drinking water to the community. I did want to make council aware of the requirement and that we were working diligently on it, and also to advise that based on the timing of when we may receive the report and so the 6-year financial plan needs to be endorsed by council for it to be able to submit it as part of our drinking water license. And while we are doing everything in our power to make sure that comes to a scheduled council meeting that we have in December, I wanted to make you aware of it and also advise that there's a potential that if the timing doesn't work out perfectly, we may need a special council meeting, but we are on track to meet the deadline and wanted to make sure you were aware.
Okay. Sounds good. Council, any questions you wish to ask Amanda through the chair? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Mayhew, I just see that you've got Aqua as others consulted. They're assisting in this.
Yes, they are assisting in answering some questions about our current system and how it operates as part of the financial planning aspect.
And further to that, at the meeting both you and I were at, Mike, last night, Aqua had to go through the same exercise that the municipality is currently doing. Recommendations before you, council. What's your wish? Moved by Deputy Mayor Schuldice. Is there a seconder? Councillor Myers. All in favor? Carried. Yeah. All right. Amanda, what have you got on for your third? Did you mention third? Okay. Oh, yes. You bet. Okay, Kevin, go ahead, walk council through that.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the mayor, before you is a report on the decommissioning of the geothermal unit and installation of a new heat source for the Glencoe Fire Hall. In the 2024 budget, council approved the allocation of 100,000 to be used for upgrades to the heating system for the fire hall. And as per our municipal procurement policy, it states to receive at least 3 quotations if possible. And after reaching out to multiple companies, I have only had 2 reach out. The quotations and the companies are listed in the report, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions from council? Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll to Kevin. What's the difference between the 2 systems, or is there any difference with the heating system?
That's a good question. The big difference is the one company is going to be running separate gas lines to each new furnace that they'll be putting in. Both companies will be using a boiler system for the in-floor. And then the difference is one of the other companies has proposed a heat pump system. So the issue with the heat pump system is that heat pump runs both furnaces. So if the heat pump goes down, we have no heat in the building other than in the in-floor heating, whereas the other system is going to be 2 separate furnaces with an AC unit outside that will power both furnaces.
The Abrams system then, that is gonna do that?
Yeah, the Abrams is the one that's doing the AC unit, and then the Cloget was the one with the heat pump.
Thank you, Kevin. Any further questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just see that we reached out to 7 companies. Did we send out an RFP for this, or how were they contacted?
We did a request for quotation. So we reached out to any local businesses that had the knowledge, especially the ones that did the installation of the original geothermal, see if they could even maybe fix it and if they had a different solution. And then after not getting any answers from any of the locals, we reached out to some of the bigger organizations from the Toronto area, London area, whatever else. And that's where one of the quotes came in at.
So like, was that a formal RFP?
No, it was an RFQ. So yeah, we reached out to anybody that had any kind of knowledge of it. So did the research online to find out who had the knowledge of the geothermal systems and then make contact with them. So we did have multiple companies come in. So all 7 actually came to the fire hall, looked at everything, looked at the job scope, and I've only received info from 2.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, yes, Councillor McGill.
Yeah, through the mayor to Kevin. Abrams, I think, is from Sarnia. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So they're not that far away. So if there was, any maintenance or whatever in the future, they would be available to come and, look after the system that they installed? Would that be the case?
That's correct. And in the job scope, it states that they are willing to get on a maintenance program with the fire hall as well. So after the installation and everything would be done, they would keep a regular maintenance program on it, so we don't run into the issues that we have.
Yes, follow up. Mark,
Yeah.
go ahead, please.
Well, I would like to move the
Okay,
recommendation.
thank you. Is there a second for that, Council? Councillor Myers. Any further questions? Yes, Councillor Choi and followed by Councillor Gill.
Thank you. Through you, I know this has been quite a long process. Is there a way to initiate like a timeline as part of our RFQ moving forward? So then we do start these jobs earlier rather than later?
Yes, Kevin? Go
Yeah, that's a
ahead.
good question. I will take responsibility on this. I was trying to be fair to all 7 companies that were reached out to give them the opportunity to put in their pricing. And I should have, yes, put in a deadline, but I didn't. So that's why we're out where we are.
Okay, we have some radiant heat in there as well currently. Is there radiant heat in that station?
Yeah, they have a gas tube heater above the fire trucks, and then they have the in-floor heating, which would still be utilized with the boiler system as part of both job scopes.
Okay. Did I guess? Yeah, I did. Councillor Myers, Councillor McGill has a question. Lady. Thanks for your patience, Mark.
No, it's just more of a comment. I would have liked to have seen this done 5 or 6 years ago, but at the time, I think, well, first we put in a generator that cost about $50,000. It had to be really big because with the geothermal system, it'll only bring the temperature up to about 50 degrees, and then the rest of the heat is basically electrical. So if you want a backup generator, it's got to be really big. And then we put in the tube heating. And really, I feel that probably now the tube heating won't even be needed, because I know a lot of farmers have a system like this with a in-floor radiant heat and fired by a gas boiler. And they say even with big drive shed doors, you open the door, you close the door down, the heat comes back up real fast because the boilers put out so much more heat than geothermal is capable of putting out. But I'm glad to see we're doing it now. Wish it was done 5 or 6 years ago. And there's been a lot of maintenance in the meantime too.
But in fair to the radiant heat though, when a fire truck freezes up, that's the fastest way to get it unthaw is radiant heat. They pull underneath there. And, you know, the problem with that is the second call they get, you know, it's dangerous to go out on a second call when your truck is covered in ice. And that's why that radiant heat is valuable. Okay, the recommendations before you, last call for questions. Kara's calling now, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Kevin. Okay. Okay, Amanda, give me some guidance. We're through staff reports now, are we? Okay, so we're on 9, no notice of motion. No notices of motion. Okay, correspondence and petitions. None, no unfinished business from the consent. New business items, none. County council and conference updates, none at this time. Announcements, council, any? Okay, I have not been advised that there is a closed session. And the bylaws 17A and 17B are before you. Bylaw 2024-071. Being a bylaw to amend the zoning of bylaw of 5669 Park House. Bylaw 2024-72 Building Services Amending Agreement with Middlesex Center. And 17C, the Stella subdivision agreement that was put forth to council tonight. Is there a mover for those bylaws that they be adopted? Councillor Haggett, a seconder for that. Councillor McCollum. Any questions, council? Seeing none? All in favor of the motion? Carry. Future meetings, we've got Wednesday, December 4th at 1:30. Mark that in our calendar. And that brings us to adjournment at 7:23. Is there a mover for that, please? Councillor Choi, seconder. Councillor Myers, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, council, very much. Thank you, staff.